Imagine living in a world where every move you make, every decision you take, is constantly being judged through the lens of others. Sounds painfully familiar, doesn't it? This harsh reality traps too many of us in a mental prison, shadowed by fear and dictated by the expectations of others. Here's the unsettling truth. We've been misled into believing that others' judgments are the benchmarks of our authenticity and success. But, in a cruel twist, these judgments are merely reflections of their insecurities, not a measure of our true worth. Every day spent in this mental confinement is a day lost from our unique, irreplaceable lives. Today, we're not just addressing this issue, we're tearing down these walls. I'm here to guide you through 6 transformative steps that will not only challenge your current beliefs, but also revolutionize your life. And stick around because the last step, it's the ultimate game changer. Before we dive in, a quick reminder. If you're ready to shift your mindset and embrace a life of freedom and authenticity, make sure to subscribe to Zenith Vision. Here, we're all about breaking barriers and unveiling the true potential within each of us. Now, let's talk reality. The constant need for approval has driven us into a corner of self-doubt and imitation, robbing us of our individuality and the joy of living authentically. The evidence is all around us, in the unhappiness that pervades despite success, in the loneliness that accompanies popularity. It's a cycle that feeds on itself, leaving us more disconnected from our essence with each turn. But here's the good news. Breaking free is not only possible, it's simpler than you think. The journey to reclaiming your life begins with a single step towards understanding and implementing these 6 strategies. Each one designed to peel back layers of external validation to reveal the sturdy, vibrant self beneath. Let's not waste any more time and dive right into the first step. Step 1. Cultivate indifference. Imagine walking in an old city you visited during your childhood. Every corner brings back sweet and bitter memories. Every street reminds you of the endless worries you had back then. School tests, fights with friends, the pressure to be accepted. Those worries now seem so distant, almost irrelevant. Yet back then, they occupied your entire world. This nostalgia makes you smile. You realize how much you have grown and how many of those worries were fleeting. Now, imagine carrying that mountain of worries into the present, letting them overshadow every day. Like a burden that keeps growing, it prevents you from seeing the beauty of current life, from seizing the opportunities that arise. Your life becomes a series of what-ifs and regrets, a reality where the fear of others' judgment paralyzes you, stopping you from making bold choices or pursuing your true passion. It's a reality where you are trapped in a cycle of anxiety over things that, in the grand scheme of life, will have little or no importance. Now, imagine adopting indifference. You start to list your current worries and ask yourself, will this affect my life in a year? You find that many of the things you were anxious about can be let go, freeing up space for what truly matters. With every worry you discard, you feel as if you're lifting a weight off your shoulders, allowing you to move more freely and with greater joy. You begin to focus on the present, enjoying the small joys and great opportunities life has to offer. This isn't just a story, it's a reality accessible to anyone who chooses to cultivate this indifference. Give yourself permission to let go of what doesn't matter, and you'll find that your life will not only be lighter, but also richer and more satisfying. This is the first step towards the emotional and mental freedom you desire. A step that is not only feasible, but will completely transform the way you live life. It's time to let go and truly live. Step 2. Recognize your internal value. Do you remember those summer mornings during your teenage years when the sun entered your room and you didn't yet have the worries of adulthood? Those days were full of possibilities, and your value wasn't measured by the number of likes on a post or by how many friends you had. You were simply yourself, appreciated for your contagious laughter, your endless curiosity, or your skill in drawing stories on the pages of a notebook. That feeling of completeness didn't depend on any external factor. It was rooted deep within you. Now, imagine moving to a future where you've allowed the world to define your value. Every morning you wake up evaluating yourself based on superficial successes and the expectations of others. Your self-esteem fluctuates like a stock market chart, unstable and unpredictable. This reality becomes fertile ground for insecurity and dependence on external approval, leading you to forget your true strengths and the unique qualities that make you special. But you have the solution at hand, and it starts with a simple action every morning. Imagine beginning the day by writing down 3 things you appreciate about yourself, qualities that shine from within you, personal achievements that have shaped your character, or small steps toward your big goals. Other, perhaps more hidden qualities might be your resilience in the face of challenges, your ability to listen to friends when they need it, or the little progress in the project you care about. This is not just an exercise in reflection, it's a revolutionary act of self-affirmation. Day after day, this practice builds you an internal fortress, a sense of value that can't be shaken by external storms. Recognizing your internal value becomes your shield against insecurity and self-doubt, guiding you towards a reality where you are fully aware of your intrinsic worth. This achievement is a promise of genuinely tangible emotional freedom. In this way, with each passing day, you move away from dependence on others' approval and closer to a life lived with confidence and inner peace. It's time to acknowledge your inner value and start living on your own terms. Step 3. Becoming your own best friend. Do you remember the afternoons spent in the backyard with your best friend, sharing dreams, fears, and hopes without any filter? That feeling of unconditional acceptance, where every failure was just a step towards success and every fear was met with comfort and encouragement. In those moments, criticism had no place, only empathy and mutual support. This is the pure nostalgia of authentic friendship, a time when you knew you were not alone. Now, imagine losing that voice of support, replacing it with a harsh and incessant inner critic. Every mistake, every choice, every step is scrutinized harshly, leaving you in a state of constant dissatisfaction and self-condemnation. Reality becomes a minefield of, "I'm not enough," and "I should have done better," a future where your least desired company is yourself. This future, where you're trapped in a cycle of self-criticism, is one where happiness and self-acceptance are perpetually out of reach. Instead, imagine starting to treat yourself with the same kindness, patience, and understanding that you would offer a dear friend. Whenever a negative thought about yourself arises, stop and ask yourself, would I say the same thing to a friend? Realizing that the answer is no, guides you to reframe that thought in a supportive manner. Slowly but surely, you begin to build a friendship with yourself, based on kindness and acceptance. This transformation is not only possible, it's incredibly achievable. Start to see your mistakes as opportunities for growth, your insecurities as reminders of your humanity, and every challenge as a moment to be kind to yourself. Your life becomes enriched with a new dimension of self-love and acceptance, where you are not only your best friend, but also your greatest ally. This is not an unattainable dream. It's a reality that you need to start building today, with every kind thought directed towards yourself, with every moment of self-criticism transformed into self-support. It's time to change the narrative and become the best friend you've always wished for. This is the path to a life of greater satisfaction and happiness, a journey that begins with a simple act of kindness towards yourself. Step 4. Building a psychological shield. Try to imagine going back to being a child and building fortresses with blankets in the living room. Can you? Those fortresses seemed invincible, a safe haven where no monster or negative thought could reach you. Inside, you were a hero, invincible and free to be whoever you wanted to be, without judgment or criticism. It was your safe space, where the only opinion that mattered was your own. This feeling of protection and safety is what we're trying to recreate, a place where the worries of the outside world couldn't touch us. Now, imagine moving forward in time to a future where you've let every negative word and toxic opinion infiltrate your inner sanctuary, eroding your self-esteem and sense of security. Every criticism becomes a direct hit to your shield, progressively weakening you until you're left exposed and vulnerable. In this scenario, the danger of falling into the vicious cycle of imitation becomes real. You start to model your actions and thoughts on those of the collective, adopting behaviors and trends not because they reflect who you are, but to avoid being labeled as different. The pressure to conform, to become a copy of the people judging you, threatens to suffocate your uniqueness. The temptation to silence the criticism by conforming may seem enticing, but it's a solution that only leads to further erosion of the self. But there's a glimmer on the horizon, and it starts with the creation of a new kind of shield, a psychological one. Imagine visualizing this shield around you every morning, a luminous barrier that reflects unconstructive criticisms and toxic opinions. This shield is built from your self-awareness, your confidence, and the recognition of your intrinsic value. It's a reminder that you decide who and what to let into your life, protecting yourself from the negative energy trying to bring you down. Adopting this practice is not just a coping strategy, it's an act of personal power. As your shield becomes stronger, you'll notice that the words and opinions of others have less impact on you. You start to move through the world with greater confidence, knowing that you have control over who can influence you. This new reality is one where you live freed from the chains of negativity, a place where your self-esteem is untouchable and your inner peace is unalterable. This happy ending is not only possible, it's within your reach. With each passing day and every shield you build, you're moving closer to a life of serenity and inner strength. It's time to rediscover the power of building your psychological fortress and living with the certainty that nothing can touch you without your permission. Step 5. Setting clear boundaries. Do you remember when you were little, being with your friends, time seemed to stop, and the only worry was how to spend the next moment of freedom, remember? Those were times when boundaries seemed not to exist. Every idea was welcome, and every proposal was an adventure to be lived. This carefreeness, however, was also fertile ground to learn to say no. Sometimes giving up one game for another more enticing. Other times choosing to go home for lunch rather than staying out in the sun. Although simple, these were the first lessons on the importance of setting clear boundaries to protect what was important to us. Now, imagine moving forward in time to a future where you've stopped setting those boundaries, accepting every request, every invitation, every project, even when they don't resonate with your values or desires, often to avoid being rude and trying in every way to make yourself part of others' lives. This world quickly becomes suffocating, a calendar full of unwanted commitments, relationships that drain your energy, and a constant feeling of losing control over your life. This reality is the result of not having learned the art of saying no, a place where your emotional space is constantly invaded, leaving you exhausted and disconnected from your true desires. But there's a way out, a happy ending that begins with recognizing the value of setting clear boundaries. As we explored in the previous video, if you missed it, I invite you to catch up. Learning to say no is a natural extension of consciously choosing what to dedicate your attention to. Practicing refusal phrases that resonate with you, like, "I appreciate your offer, but this doesn't align with my current goals," not only helps protect your emotional space, but also remain true to your authenticity, as discussed when we talked about recognizing your internal value. Adopting this practice frees you, allowing you to dedicate time and energy to relationships and activities that truly enrich your life. This is not just an act of self-defense, it's a step towards living a life full of meaning, surrounded by what elevates you rather than pulls you down. This happy ending is not just desirable, it's absolutely achievable. Remember, setting clear boundaries is not a sign of selfishness, but an act of deep respect for yourself and others. And now, let's move on to the crucial point. Step 6. Seek growth, not approval. This step touches the core of what truly drives us towards personal fulfillment. It's the most important concept for anyone who wants to live a life not just of success, but of deep satisfaction. Reflect for a moment on the times when, as children, we engaged in activities just to receive a pat on the back or an approving smile. That feeling of being loved and accepted for our actions may have given us momentary joy, but it also sowed the seeds of a persistent worry, the need for external approval. And if those small victories made us feel good, it was because they reflected the desires of others, not our own. Now, imagine a future where you continue on this path, where every decision is made hoping to gain others' approval. It's a suffocating reality, where your true desires and personal growth are set aside to please others. This is fertile ground for regret, a future where you might look back and ask, what if I had followed my own path? Now shift your focus from being loved to being the most authentic and realized version of yourself. You start setting personal goals that challenge you, moving away from seeking approval to embrace the path of personal growth. Every step forward, no matter how small, becomes a victory to celebrate. Every feedback, even critical, turns into an opportunity to learn and improve. This new reality is not only liberating, but also deeply satisfying. Personal growth becomes your new measure of success, and with it, you find joy and fulfillment that external approval can never give you. This is the true journey towards emotional and mental freedom, a path that allows you to live fully, embracing every challenge as an opportunity to grow. This is not just a change in mindset, but a whole life change. It's the secret to living authentically, freeing yourself from others' judgment, and embracing your true potential. This is the time to act, to choose growth over everything else. Are you ready to embark on this journey? Here we are. At the end of this transformative journey, a path we've embarked on together with the goal of freeing ourselves from the chains of others' expectations and embracing a life of authenticity and freedom. Every step we've discussed today is not just an action to be taken, it's an invitation to deeply reflect on how we live our lives and how we can reclaim control of our personal narrative. Together, we've explored 6 essential steps to change our lives, to stop worrying about what others think of us. The decision to act, to embark on this journey toward emotional and mental freedom, belongs to each of us. We cannot afford to wait or postpone. The moment to act is now. If these ideas have struck a chord with you, join us. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to stay updated on upcoming videos. Your path to success starts now, and we have so much in store for you. Keep following us to turn your dreams into reality. The video you've been waiting for could be next.